you know, you have some connection with, but you can deepen your connection. They can probably become people that you really know well. They can go down to A's, and they can connect you to the C's. So your B's are the most powerful. They hold the most opportunity. We might think our A's hold the most opportunity, but in getting to know a B, they can both become someone that you, or an organization that you deal with more closely, but they can also connect you outward. Your A's, really solidly, you may never have looked at them as people that can introduce you or people that you can connect with. And I want to do this not just from a position of what you need, but also what you offer. So before I go into that, any thoughts or feedback here on this idea of kind of thinking of it as three circles that kind of that move out? It's a different way of thinking about it. Any comment or feedback on that about your experience? Okay, we're good. Okay, let's go to the slide deck again, Laura. Okay. Oh, this looks different than it looked on my screen. It's okay. We can still do it. All the ideas are there. So managing our mindset, and we're really good at this in our world. And when we think about something like this that may cause additional stress or strain, you know, moving beyond the parking lot, this idea of selling, that we're going to push, we're going to be begging, we're going to be asking for something, it feels horrific. So I suggest that we turn it into what we do really well, which is helping and growing awareness. Because the only reason to connect with an A or a B or a C in offering something out, you are offering to help. The services that we provide, we heard all of our introductions, we're very helpful people. So we're actually creating awareness that we exist and offering our services and our programs and our experiences, our spiritual tools. And so in doing this, we're actually being quite helpful. So if you think about your awareness campaign rather than like a sales campaign, there's a whole different set of energy. When you're thinking, oh, I could be helpful, and my whole reason to network is to create awareness. That feels a whole lot lighter than I got to go out and sell. And so I've got two ideas here beyond this slide that we'll go through. And one of them is to become a connector. And the other is to really get intentional about your awareness campaign. So let's go to the next slide, Laura. Okay, so I'm suggesting that you become a connector and look at your network that you can offer people and also what you need from them or the referrals that you'd like to have. So let's go to the next slide. So becoming a connector means that in addition to going out to network and let people know that your community exists, offering to introduce people that you think should meet each other. So keeping an ear out for, oh, they've just said something and someone said something last week. Do you know each other? Or, oh, you're looking for a plumber. This person did work at my community center. Oh, you know, I think that you ought to know this person who's doing something like this, or has some research for you. You know, if you're intent on connecting people, then it also doesn't feel so uncomfortable for you to ask for connections with people. And that's the reciprocity piece. So you're stepping out, you're offering to become a connector. So you keep other networkers in mind for, like, if they're looking for roles or work or business of any kind or opportunities, and staying in touch with your network. So being intentional around, well, I'm going out to network, and I think I'd like to set up one coffee date or two coffee dates. So I'm going to meet someone that I'd like to know a little bit better. And so I'm going to invite them to the community center. I'm going to invite them to my church for coffee. They can come in and tell me what they do. There's no commitment or promise in this. And if you're doing this on a pretty regular basis, this is your practice and this is your habit. So when you go to request introductions from your network, which is now growing, you don't feel so schmoozy. You don't feel so salesy because you have been in the experience of connecting people. So Laura, we'll come out of this just for a second. I just want to, I want to connect with everybody. So one of the things that I have done for a long, long time with people looking for a new job. So I'm going to give you an example from that career counseling world. So I would have people looking for jobs and connect them with recruiters. What I always said to them is, when you are done with your interview with the recruiter, ask them. So turn the table and ask them, so I'm out networking because I'm looking for a role. Are there any roles that you're trying to fill that I can help you with? I'm meeting people all the time. Is there a particularly difficult or sticky kind of role that you're looking for? And I'd be happy to send people your way. And you can imagine the reaction of the recruiter. What? You're offering to help me? So it was so off-putting to the recruiter because the recruiter was used to being needed. And the employee potential comes in and the recruiter's here, and you want what the recruiter has, and you're trying to rise up to be what they need to be, and it creates this weird power dynamic where you are out networking. So you have an opportunity to meet all kinds of people. You're trying to hire an accountant, you're trying to hire an engineer. You know what? I'll watch out for that and I'll send them your way. Here, I'll take some of your cards. It was so off-putting that recruiters began to know that the clients were coming from me, because it was so weird and unusual. Now, the recruiters remembered the candidates because they stood out. Because of the reciprocity, we closed the loop on it. It's not just what I need from you. And they remembered me too. So if we take this and we place it into our world and our context in spiritual community, when we are offering, hey, so do you need anything, or is there anything that you're looking for right now? And someone might say, I'm looking for a used car. Like, you just never know what's going to come out of people's mouths. I've actually had, well, I'm looking for a plumber. My kid's looking for a math tutor. Or we're looking for a place to rent. Well, I got a place to rent for you. You just never know. And so just placing that out there, and then, offering to connect people, or I don't know someone, but I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Or, who would know is someone else in my network. Let me introduce the two of you. So when you're focusing on connecting and doing good like that, that doesn't feel very salesy. And it actually, like I said, it closes the loop in reciprocity. So I'm going to stop for a moment and just give us some time here for a bit of open dialogue. And just love to hear your thoughts on some of this, how you're feeling about this, how it's landing for you. Any of it maybe you feel is difficult, so that that's not me? Or is there anything you think, I'd like to try that?
This is Teresa. I think it sounds like just a really great approach. I love that idea, like, how can I help you? That totally changes the dynamic, and it's very comfortable. The other thing that I would add to that is, as you're offering to help them with, whatever it is that they are looking for or need, and this is something that I've done with my work, is I just keep people in mind and what we've talked about, and I'll send them like little snippets of articles or book suggestions, or, I really try to keep people in mind, and not just so that, they'll help me at some point, but because it feels good, and that idea of networking is giving too, I think is really powerful. So thank you, Sonia.
I think I've lost some of my trepidation about this. You've got it in a way that makes it, for someone who's generally pretty much introverted, makes it kind of doable to do that, to come up with those ideas. I mean, I do that so easily in a spiritual way, as far as, putting people in touch with each other or recommending books or practices or things like that. So if I could just begin to do it, to keep that in mind for, more business kind of stuff, it actually kind of eases some of the gut clenching fear that I had about it.
Gut clenching. I love the visual of that. Experiential visual. We know it in the room. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Is there, what do you recommend for when you were talking about, create a habit or a practice of inviting people for coffee or that sort of thing? Like, what do you recommend for how often or how much, or Like, what kind of a budget do you have for coffee? And, you know, that kind of thing. I want some more nuts and bolts around that if you have any to offer.
Absolutely. So your coffee budget is yours. It's great if you're inviting them to the center because you usually have coffee going, right? What I suggest for people is to get intentional. I mentioned being intentional about, you know, when I go out today, I'm going to try to invite one person for coffee or whatnot. I ask people to budget their networking time. So if you looked at a particular week, how much time can you go for networking? So people might look at their week and say, you know what, I can go for like 2 breakfasts a month, and I'm willing to have 1 coffee meeting a week. Or sometimes people will pick a day or an afternoon, like Tuesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon is when I'm going to do my inviting. So I'm going to leave 2 or 3 hours open and invite people. Time is really important. If you ask someone for a meeting, you might want to say something like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, because 20 minutes can go to 30 minutes, and 30 minutes can go to 45. But if you book any longer than that, then it goes long. And if you have asked for this time, if it's your meeting that you've asked for, when it gets to the 20-minute time or the 30-minute time, you can check in and say, you know what, I know we're at about 20 minutes. How do you feel? And they're already loving you, or they're sharing things about themselves too. And they'll be like, no, I got 15 more minutes. So it's just respectful without being paranoid about watching the clock. But remember your commitment. So I have said to people that if they ask for meetings, to say, you know, 20 to 30 minutes, let's get together and stick to that. And then if I've invited people in where I think, you know, this could go somewhere and I would really want to spend some time with them, then I might say, do you have 30 to 45 minutes to spend with me? And they're coming to talk to me. I tend to ask for a little less and offer a little more, because I find I'm practiced at being succinct. And people coming in may not be, so know that if you're both really succinct, you can probably get it done in about a half hour. If someone is not super familiar with networking, they might need a little bit more time, but it's still really important to set a time and stay with that. That's important. So maybe there's a particular time in your week where you think, you know what, I'm a breakfast networker, I'm a cocktail networker, or I'm a lunchtime networker. I am absolutely sure if you start looking in your community, you're going to find people who are networking at these times. Okay, great question. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, we'll go on. So let's go back to the slide, Laura, and we'll look beyond being a connector. So let's go to the next slide. Remember this strategic community outreach slide that I had in Module 8 around growing your community. We looked at the different partners that you might have, and the different events, and the different memberships. So we were looking at how we could grow our community, and we wanted to be really strategic about it. That was a really super important part of this. So let's go to the next slide. I want to build on that. So I had sent this out to you beforehand and asked that you complete your business partner in the community introduction. So it's business, and you want to partner with them in your community. So this is an opportunity for you to practice your networking elevator pitch. So the stress starts happening right now, and the temperature goes high, and our heart starts to beat fast, and we're in a really safe place, so it's all fine. So what I'd like to do, let's do this as an exercise together. So I'm going to have each of you have an opportunity to tell us your elevator pitch, your networking pitch, and be really, really succinct in terms of the we do part, because we can go on with that. So know that we have lots of offerings. Remember, we introduced each other. There are lots of offerings in there. What is an offering that you might want to offer to a business in the community? And I'm having you do this because it's the least practiced probably, and maybe even the least comfortable. So here's your chance to do it. And everybody else, what I'd like you to do is, as you're hearing this person describe what we are and what we do, let's look at some questions. So based on what you said, here's a question that I might have for you. And so as they're talking, just go ahead and document any of your questions, and we'll give people some feedback. And so I'll come out of this So it's our name, our role, and who we are and what we do. So we'll come out of the slide. Okay. So I'll have you introduce yourselves. So this is a practice in a really safe space. And what happens when we get an elevator pitch or an intro pitch really worked out is we go out and it's really polished. And then we say it, and then someone asks a question, and it's like, it just all falls apart. It's like, oh my God, I hadn't thought that far. I was so focused on my pitch. I never thought that someone was going to ask me a question. Now I'm so thrown by these questions. So let's take an opportunity, and we keep a pen and paper beside us. And as we each introduce ourselves, let's think of a question that you might have for that person so that it can help them anticipate the kind of questions that they might get in a networking scenario. So Lesia, how about you go first? Yeah, I know, right? Woo, step right up. Really? The first two are really simple, right? Like your name.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lasia, and I am the office administrator and spiritual leaders assistant at the local Unity Church in Victoria, BC. We are a spiritual community that is devoted to spiritual and personal development. And what we do is we offer Sunday celebrations, classes, workshops, meditations, book studies, and we support the community by tithing our
Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
Remember, this is and thank you for being first, because this is a great example.
I didn't hear what you said because you froze.
Yeah, there was an echo. There's an echo too. Remember that this is a business partner opportunity.
Okay.
So like the tithing and some of the things that won't matter to a business, think about what you can offer to a business, like a group of 50 employees across town in an organization. So go to the we do. What do we do?
So we offer meditation sessions. Classes and book studies.
Great.
I don't know what else to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is why we're practicing.
Okay.
So I'm going to open it to the group. What kind of questions do you have, Celestia, based on what she said? Help her understand what someone might ask. How many people right now are worried about their own introduction? Okay, let me get you started. How long are your meditation sessions?
45 minutes long, once a week.
I have one. What do you charge for classes?
The classes, if they are credited courses, they have a set fee by head office. And if they are not accredited courses, then it is by love offering. Essentially pay what you can.
So this is a great question to practice the answer on, to be able to have that clear. Love offering is also really internal terminology phrase.
So is pay what you can better, or?
I'll throw that out to the group.
I've used sliding scale. Generally, the business community would understand that, I think.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
How does appreciation donation work? Would people understand that better? Then I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, businesses usually like an answer. So for a business, they probably want to know a price. A sliding scale will be a good answer until they ask you, what's your sliding scale? So let's get ready with pricing. This is perfect. This is good. Okay, any other questions?
If this is a church, are you going to try to convert me?
No. Period.
Oh, okay. So who else would like to go? Who'd like to go next?
Okay, I'll go. So my name is Stephanie, and I'm the ministerial intern at the Center for Spiritual Living of Greater Dayton. And among the many things that we teach practices that reduce stress and increase idea generation.
People are writing that down. I can see that they're not writing their question for you down. They're writing that term that you just used. It's like, that's a good one. Can you tell us what you do again?
We teach, among the many things that we do, we teach practices that reduce stress and increase idea generation.
Idea generation. Okay. So I have a question for you. Is that like creativity?
Sure. Well, I personally have a workshop that among many things that workshop teaches is how to generate a lot of ideas quickly. And if you are interested in that, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Okay. Any questions, folks?
What do you teach about stress reduction?
Meditation is probably the biggest thing that we teach and that you're the most familiar with.
So is meditation a Christian technology?
No, meditation doesn't have to have any religious connotation at all. It's taught by psychologists and psychiatrists and can really just be done as a relaxation and stress reduction technique.
Any other questions for Stephanie? Okay. Jeffrey, how about you go next?
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Ryan. I am the spiritual director for the local Center for Spiritual Living, and we embolden people to live their highest potential. And the way we do that is especially in this environment, we offer conscious business practices, workshops and seminars for conscious business practices. We offer mindfulness programs for employees, like lunchtime mindfulness, quiet time during lunchtimes. And then we also offer personal development classes at our center that allows people to get beyond their limiting beliefs and empowers them to live fuller lives. What did you say, Reverend Sonia?
Questions?
I have a question. The lunchtime mindful practices, are they at your location or do you come to different businesses?
We can come to different businesses, and then we also have noontime, lunchtime mindfulness practice that is happening at our location as well. But we're happy to come out to your location and train your employees, as well as just offer that to them on a weekly basis, if that is something you would like to do.
Is there a minimum attendance necessary for you to come out to our location?
To come out to the location, we would prefer to have 10 people, but we are willing to work with you if you're a smaller entity. We're more than happy to, but minimum would be about 5.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, from others? So I'd like to know what you mean by conscious business practices.
Conscious business practices, it's allowing for developing, especially the one workshop that we have developed right now, allows for generation of ideas, tapping into the collective consciousness and the collective intuition, if you will, and tapping into that in a different way than a brainstorming session. It's going into more of a mindfulness practice first and seeing what is wanting to arise from the collective consciousness of the group and then bringing that forth. And it's a way of generating ideas that wouldn't necessarily be there from a mental perspective that is tapping into something a little much larger. So that would be one of the workshops that we offer currently.
That sounds like something I've heard of called visioning.
It is. How have you heard about visioning?
Wonderful. I love bringing groups through visioning. It's a great thing to offer at retreats. So yeah, that's wonderful. So it sounds like your group probably does that too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to get ready with some pricing for me.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question for Jeffrey? Okay, Jeffrey, who do we have go next? Do you want Tammy or Laura?
Oh, Laura's like going, oh God, so it's going to be Laura.
Okay, hit it, Laura.
I'm Laura Hallett. I'm the spiritual director of the local branch of an international nonprofit called Centers for Spiritual Living. We're an open and inclusive community. We teach universal principles here like forgiveness and compassion. And we have practices that transform your lives like meditation and mindfulness.
Okay, questions for Laura? Let's go ahead.
How many centers are there? You said you're an international organization. How many centers are there and where are they?
They are spread out over quite a bit of the world. We have about 450 different centers. We have actual physical centers, we have teaching chapters, and we have special focus ministries that deal with certain, well, special focuses.
And what is an example of a special focus or focus ministry?
Like we have some that deal with prison ministries. We have one I know that's dealing with veterans and their post-traumatic stress. We have some that are teaching chapters that are focused solely on our educational programs and the classes that we have, that we offer.
So is that religious education, or what type of education are you offering?
It is spiritual, not necessarily religious. It works again with the universal spiritual principles that are found throughout all of the major faith traditions.
Okay. So, Laura, I'm a business, and I'm wondering how something like forgiveness, you mentioned forgiveness. So how do I use that in my business?
Well, I think so many of the interpersonal problems we have that we hold on to for, and hold on to it for quite a bit, it has to deal with the lack of forgiveness. And so when we can get to a place where we are working with forgiveness in a deeper way, a more meaningful way, it will change our lives. Forgiveness is never really about what it does for anybody else. It's about what it does for us individually. And it allows us to no longer let those situations control our lives.
Okay, any other questions for Laura?
So is forgiveness then something that would be helpful for interpersonal relationships at the office?
Oh, absolutely.
So that might be a better way of approaching that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions for Laura, folks? I know we have Tammy next, and I'm going to go to Teresa for a moment. Teresa, you with us?
I am. I'm sorry, I had to jump off for a moment.
No worries. Are you okay to do this exercise with us? What we're doing is we're doing our intro pitch as if we were pitching our services at the center to a business partner out at a networking event. And then we're letting everyone ask you questions to imagine what comes next. You okay to go ahead?
Not right now.
Well, how about if you listen to Tammy do her,
okay.
maybe you'll want to join in. So Tammy, you go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Oh, hang on. Okay, so my name is Tammy Sainamon. I am the co-spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living Redlands. We are a diverse and inclusive spiritual community. We're non-denominational and educational focused. We offer classes, personal coaching, spiritual tools such as visioning, mindfulness practices that are designed to help people improve their lives and help improve the world around us.
Okay. Questions for Tammy?
So how can you improve my business?
Well, we can improve your business by helping you improve your ideas. And we improve your ideas by helping you expand what you can conceive. So what you can conceive, you can achieve. And in business, a good visioning, a good ability to increase your ideas goes a long way towards helping you create a strategic plan that will move you forward.
So we already have a vision and a mission statement. So what is this visioning that you're talking about?
So visioning is more about being open to a bigger idea. And so your vision statement is what you have focused on or set as a direction for your particular business. But for each of the aspects of your business, you can do a visioning in order to generate ideas. So kind of like a deeper level of brainstorming that will enable you to generate just a whole wider set of ideas that you can move in a greater direction than you've already looked at.
Other questions for Tammy? Okay, thank you, Tammy. Okay, I'm going to unmute. Teresa, do you feel like hopping in to try this out with us?
I still don't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand how we pitch this to a business, and I'm not really getting that.
Yeah, so actually that's why the exercise is designed this way. And so you may want to review the recording, but it's not intuitive or natural for us as spiritual people and spiritual leaders offering spiritual principles and tools and services and products in our organizations to think about how we might be over on the do well scale and do some for-profit type of work. Yet the business community is really yearning for what we have, and it's all about how we communicate it. So this exercise is an opportunity for us to practice what we would say and then hear from our colleagues here in a very safe environment about questions that would naturally come up. So I'm going to just review this here. So people can kind of like, you can shake it off a little bit. No, Teresa doesn't see me, but I'm like doing the sillies, like shaking my hand and my head, because it's like, we want to do like an exhale, like, holy crap, I was on the hot seat. So that initially doesn't feel very natural, does it? I'm nodding heads, yeah. So it does get clear, though, that it's very needed. So between it not being natural for us, but yet very needed in the business environment, we have to find some ways to communicate. So we know that the kind of things that we're going to be asked for is, you know, what would you do for my business? And then packaging and pricing, like, is it every week? Is it a 6-week experience? Is it a one-time experience? Is it a half-day experience? Are you coming in for lunch? Are you doing it at my place? Am I coming to your place? What's the price? And so we have to be prepared for this. So get prepared for those sorts of questions, because they're frequently asked or FAQ questions from business people who think in a business mindset. So you can go ahead and re-practice your business intro with maybe a person who is a business person in your life or your community and say, okay, so if I said this to you and you're managing a group of people, what would you want from me? So we recognize that the services that we provide, you know, that mindfulness, that meditation, the visioning, really, really good, the idea generation. So you can imagine that we probably offer really great employee experiences there or with us. We probably offer some really great lunch stuff. Stress management is a very key idea inside business. And so the people that make those decisions in the business are generally the HR person or the safety or wellness, health and wellness person. If they have any of those people inside an organization, then those are the decision makers. They meet people like you, and then they decide who's going to come in. You're also really great probably at a conference or a retreat. So when the whole management team decides to do like a 2-day retreat in the mountain or out in the country or even, you know, a city retreat, whatnot, they want guest speakers to come in. And these ideas that we have, whether it's the idea generation and visioning, or whether it's the stress reduction, are very popular right now. So you have what the business world is looking for. So you just need to look at how you explain it and then be ready to talk about like the duration, the time, and the pricing, because time is money. So time and money is what your business people are going to ask about. Okay? Yes, Laura.
I'm currently working on a brochure that just tells a little bit about our center, and I was just sitting here thinking, would it be appropriate to have one that I just took to the businesses?
Absolutely.
And you know, it actually explained a little bit that more than what I can do in the 30-second elevator speech.
Yeah, like those cards that are you know, glossy and double-sided, or a trifold. Yeah, these are perfect. Yeah, or the postcard size. These are perfect. So if you look at the kind of services you're offering, what you might want to do too is do some competitive analysis. So go online and look at organizations that are offering mindfulness to workplaces or offering wellness programming, and see the kind of lingo they're using, because they've already have like 2 feet in the business world, and we're putting 1 foot in. So we're a little bit back from that, but it'll give us the sense of what the business world is asking for. We have what they're asking for. And I know, I think I may have told this story in this group before, but I left Irvine last year a day early because I had to fly into Toronto to be with a group of Cooperative Housing Federation delegates that had come in from across the country. There was just over 80 people. And I used this acronym on a sheet of paper, and I spent 25 minutes at the beginning walking them through a visioning. They didn't know that this is what it was, and we looked at all of the pieces and all the things they were going to love, and their fears and their worries and their obstacles and their innate strengths and all of this stuff. And this is the kind of thing we do. And I was looking out while they're all quiet and writing their stuff down and like dumping their surface thoughts, and I thought to myself, they don't even know what they're doing. They don't know they're in a visioning. They're just loving it because they're like accessing stuff and clearing the path right at the beginning of the retreat. Like, that's a perfect thing to offer sales, engineering, you know, any kind of group. So I'm going to just tie a bow around this here. If these people, the HR people, the safety wellness people, inside organizations are the people you want to target, you might want to look up the associations in your neighborhood for these people, because they have networking groups too, and they have gatherings. And so if you go, you're going in as like a service provider, and you're meeting people who need what you have. That's very different from going out with like 50 other spiritual leaders, which you're all kind of like supporting each other and maybe doing that mentoring piece and learning a little bit of knowledge, but you're not going to get your community growth there. You're going to get your community growth in areas that need you as a provider, because when you're a provider, then you're charging or doing sliding scale or pro bono, but you're providing a service to that community. So yeah, as uncomfortable as this exercise is, it's really great to sort of peel back, okay, you know, this is what I got to get clear on. And by doing it and feeling awkward and wobbly, you're already more confident at the end of it than you were at the beginning of it. Gotta say. Okay, so we have a few more slides. So let's go through that, and then we'll make some time to talk as well. So Laura, let's go to the next slide. So remember, we had this outreach profile, and what was our motivation for doing outreach activities? So you might want to take note of, did your preference change? Are you looking at doing your outreach activity and now your networking activity for sharing your center's resources in service? So that's usually free, or partnering in your community, or growing your center's revenue, or growing your center's membership. So just notice which ones are calling you after this conversation as well. It may shift a little. And the being intentional. So you go out knowing you'd like to meet one person or introduce yourself to 2 people or have a coffee, or you're spending 1 hour once a week or 2 hours, you know, once a week, etc. So you're being intentional and making the space for this important activity in your life. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Remember, we looked at our center's offerings, and I had you indicate in each of these three areas, the interfaith sector, the not-for-profit partnership sector, and then the business sector, the kind of things that you thought you might offer. And this is a great thing to do with your, if you're going to put together like a business outreach or a growth or a do well committee at your center, then having them brainstorm too what you're offering. And this can really help if you're going to put together a brochure or any sort of marketing. Let's go to the next slide. And so I asked you who were your partners so that you could think about how you want to approach this introduction. And now we just did an introduction for businesses. So if you can do that one, which is the toughest one for us to do, you can peel it back and think about, oh, I'm out with not-for-profits, or oh, I'm in the interfaith community. And you can be a little lighter, and it doesn't maybe feel as intense, but because I know you can do the business intro, I know you can do these as well. So you can think about in that ABC, who you might want to try this out with. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I would like to know what your percentage is of networking in each of these sectors. So let's think for a moment here. Now you're a professional networker. You've done this. Come on, you've done it once really, really well here. So what is your ideal percentage of networking? So if you've got networking time, no matter how much time, if it's an hour or a day in a week, how much time do you think you'd like to put your intention and your time, your planning towards being out in the interfaith community versus the not-for-profit partnership community versus the business community that we're kind of dabbling in right now? So if you've got 100%, what are you going to put forward now as a plan? What are you thinking after today? Can we come off the slide for a moment? I'd like to hear from people if you want to put it in chat. Okay, so if you've got 100%, what percentage would you think you'd want to network in the interfaith area versus not-for-profit versus business? Okay, so we're doing a third with Tammy. That was easy. I don't know if I believe that it's going to be a third, a third, a third. You might start off that way. Okay.
I know for me, the temptation would be to go really heavy on the interfaith and not-for-profit, which is why I consciously said a third, a third, a third, so that I could make sure that I'm giving some time to the business community too. Yeah.
The great thing about the business community is we are unusual. So we're not same. So we actually get their ear really. If we've planned it well and we're comfortable, we look and sound like who we are, and there's no disconnect between what we're saying and who's standing in front of them in terms of a confidence level and just an assuredness of who we are. They really hear it. They really, really hear it. It's like, oh, I've never met someone who does that. Oh, can you do, oh, that's interesting, you know, because you're not same. So we've got 40, 40, 20, interfaith 20, not-for-profit 50, business 30. Okay, and Lasia, interfaith 40, not-for-profit 10, business 50. Laura, interfaith 25, not-for-profit 40, business 35. Okay, so I want to congratulate you all because you have business in here. And I get the feeling that we may not have had business in here before. It's not really all that difficult. If we know what they expect from us, then we can build the intro and plan for the questions. And if we come up against something that we can't answer, it's a great reason to take the business card and get back to them. How about that? Okay, Jeffrey, my numbers reflect more of what's current rather than ideal. Okay, so Jeffrey, if you were going to change anything, when you say ideal, which number would you change, up or down, and which one?
Business up.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back to the slide deck, Reverend Laura, and we'll finish up with the slides. Okay, so go to the next one. Remember you had your strategic memberships, and that idea of one board participation. So I don't want us to lose that. Now, maybe you're thinking about it a little bit differently since we went through this tonight too. You might even want to be on a business board or a business subcommittee. Imagine that, imagine that. Okay, you will stand out and you will be different. You don't want to be with 500 ministers, except, well, at Asilmar, you're going to be with 500 ministers. It's fantastic, but you don't want to be with 500 people who do exactly what you do. So this is perfect. Let's go to the next slide. And as we're winding down here, I want to remind you that I sent this overview document. It's not so pink and pretty in your attachment, but I sent it along with the prep work for tonight. And so it has all of the tools and activities that we've done by module topic. And what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to give you till May 30th if you would like a topic focused on, or you have a question that you want to forward to me. I'd like you to be specific. And if there's something that you feel that this set of 9 modules has not addressed in your world of being a spiritual entrepreneur, send that along too. So I am doing number 10 as a bit of a mixed bag called Ask the Expert, and I may be your expert. We also have some experts in the room in different modalities right now. So we'll do a community share, and I will focus on whatever you ask me to focus on. Also want to remind you, you have 2 45-minute coaching sessions with me. So I'm going to give till December 31st for those. But if you already know that you'd like to have a session in October about strategic planning, because that works for something you're doing, let's call that out. I'd really rather not chase you. My job's gotten bigger since the last time we were on a Zoom together. So please let me know what you need. And if someone needs longer than December, I'll definitely consider it if there's something really specific or event driven, but I think that should give us enough time. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, and so some guidelines for networking as we finish up. So vary your intro to the audience. So if you're going out to a networking event that's an HR association or a safety association or an interfaith group, imagine what they need from you. So do that, what we did for each other today, and get help if you need to with somebody else. But like, imagine, do the 180, I call it, the 180 degrees. Be in front of yourself. And so if I heard someone say this, these are the kinds of questions I'd have. So you might want to allow that to vary your introduction, because the one introduction is not going to fit in all areas, which is why I gave you 3 in the last set of prep sheets, okay? 1 for each of the 3 areas. Be prepared for those questions, and then treat every situation as an opportunity to grow your awareness campaign. You know, like there's an energy of it, like, you need to know about us. Here's something you need to know about us. And then it's not about selling. Did you know that we provide? You're helping. Be intentional about where you network. Become a connector, so that filling that other part of the reciprocity cycle. Ask for referrals. You're going to feel more comfortable if you're giving to ask. Practice and have fun with it. You actually can meet people that you like, and they're going to like you too. You might actually like having coffee. Who knows who you'll do business with or know or grow your community with. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what's next? I want you to review that overview sheet that I sent and let me know by email what you'd like to have. Our next meeting is June 13th. That's coming real fast, right? And so if you could let me know by May 30th, and if you're ready to book coaching sessions, we can do that as well. So I think that's the end of us tonight. So we'll come out of the slides. What great timing, and a very powerful invocation from Reverend Laura, who requested technology work with us. And I'm just ever so blessed to have been able to make it this far with you. Okay, so I'd like to open for, my computer's making funny noises. So I'd like to open for any questions and then do our close together. Are there any questions about tonight? If you lose me, I'll hop back in, just so you know. Okay.
Not so much a question, but just remembering that we get jargony, and even the word visioning is very jargony. Like, there's people within our organization that don't understand the difference between visioning and visualization. And so we have a tendency to get jargony. So just being really mindful of, you know, calling things by names that might be more approachable outside of our centers.
When I did that visioning with that group of 80 people, I called it a reflection exercise.
There you go.
And I've also called it a brainstorming exercise. And in some not-for-profits, I've called it a creative visualization exercise. We're going to visualize what's coming today. And with the individual elements of the visioning, you say if it's 4 or 6 or 8 questions you're asking, that makes 4 or 6 or 8 activities in a room. Mm-hmm. Because you can have them all, document and go talk about it, and then move from one to another and talk about it. And yeah, you could build a half a day on that. Absolutely. So yeah, that's a really good point. Anybody else use visioning and call it something other than what I just mentioned? I like the idea generation. That probably could fit in there somewhere too, Stephanie. Like that, it does generate ideas if we're asking about, what's untapped and what's unknown. And yeah. Okay. What's your highest idea? I love that one. And that works in business too. It's really shocking to them because it's not the way they think. It brings about some really delicious answers. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. How's everyone feeling about the idea of speaking to business people in your neighborhood? Even Laura's nodding. This is like she's the litmus test in this group, perhaps. Okay. Are we feeling a little more ready to leave the parking lot? There's a Chamber of Commerce or a Board of Trade near you. Jeffrey and I did it with mounds of coffee one morning at like some ungodly hour, like 6:30 or something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
She was asking me for my elevator pitch, like on the fly, as I'm like, I haven't had coffee yet. She's like, well, you did a really good job not having coffee. So, but
Yeah, we were in the parking lot at Starbucks, hadn't had coffee yet. I'm like, tell me what you're going to tell them. And he's like, whoa. Like, that's really good. I got a question for you. And he's like, I need to have coffee before you ask me any questions. It was cruel, actually. It was cruel what I did. So, yeah.
But, feet to fire, and that got it done. So that's why I could do it. So
don't hesitate to partner up too, like Jeffrey and I did. So grab someone else who's an entrepreneur or a service provider or someone who does kind of what you do or different than what you do, but is equally uncomfortable going out to business. And then that way it's great too, if you forget anybody's name, you can work out something ahead of time where it's like, if I introduce you to them first, that's a sign that I don't remember their name. And then, so you get their name. Like you can partner up that way. Or every time I say this, can you make sure that like you say this? So you can work it. Okay. Okay. I am looking forward to hearing where you went. Do you think by our meeting in June, some people might have gone somewhere? I'm open to it. I'll be asking. Maybe we'll open with that question. What have you done? What have you done with it? Where did you go out and breathlessly, gut-wrenchingly allow yourself to be? Wonderful. Okay. Tammy, would you mind doing a benediction, a closeout for us here tonight, please?
For sure. So I just bring us all present in this moment, in this time and place, this beautiful online room that we all join together in energetically and spiritually and connect with in our presence here. And so I know that there is only one infinite presence, and that presence is the presence of the divine that lives and breathes and moves through me and through each one of us and through the barking dogs and through the traffic on the street and the sunshine and the wind and every other expression of the infinite existence that there is. And so I know right here and now that that infinite presence is living and moving and breathing within each one of us. And this entire time that we've spent together has been an outpicturing of that divine something, that wisdom, that truth that is life, that is all perfect and that is all growth and all expansion and all evolution. And I am so very grateful for this time that we have spent focusing on our own expansion and growth and evolution as spirit-driven entrepreneurs. And so I recognize the goodness. I know the goodness of this time that we've spent together, and I know the goodness of this teaching that we have all partaken of, that we move forward in our lives with. And so I just give such grateful thanks for this, and I release this back into that infinite divine mind that houses all of this beautiful wisdom and knowledge for us to reach in any moment and just snatch it up and move it into our experience of life. And so with this gratitude, with this love, and knowing this is already in place for us in every moment, in every way, I release this back into the one mind, knowing that it is so, and we ground this together by saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Okay. Go forward in curiosity and go forward to do this. I so want to hear any of your experiences next month. Love you all. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.